came out with the hood and pulled him out of the ring after he hit the finish. Okay. So this is my question. As somebody who has been a part of turns, has been a part of storylines where maybe turns are too many in succession, does it bring it down when there's too many in a row? When do too many turns take people out of a storyline? And well, the one storyline I'm thinking in particular is we've talked about the Raven Dreamer storyline when Raven came back and it was the tag partner, and then there was the flip-flopping of the tag belts, and then you turn on Dreamer, you go with Raven, and then you go to Just Incredible. So are too many turns good or bad for the long-term storytelling?
I think it depends on the characters that are involved. You have to be aware of, is it getting over with the fans? Because if it's not, we need to do something to switch this up and make it worthwhile to watch. I feel like WWE has a tendency to rush stories. Paul was great at stretching stuff out. And we've discussed this before, like not having Taz and Sabu touch until the night of the pay-per-view, like stretch it and make them really want it. They have a tendency over at WWE to rush things. And I don't know if that's due to the fact that they have so much programming or they have an overabundance of talent, trying to get different people into the mix. I feel like the most important thing is this angle getting over? Is it generating crowd heat? It's not. Okay, how do we switch this? And that a lot of times will speed something up or make someone turn so people will get interested again. Because remember, if you're doing something, especially on national TV, and it's not getting over and people are just sitting there and they're not responding to what you're doing, that's a failure. You need something to spice this up. So maybe the writers are like, okay, well, we need Jey Uso to turn, or we need Jimmy Uso to do this, or to keep it fresh. It's difficult. You have to listen to what the fans want. And I know sometimes they don't do that. And they insult our intelligence a lot of times. And we discussed that as well with some of the angles that you're just like, wait a minute, this doesn't make any sense. Or I'm just a dumb wrestling fan. I'm not supposed to catch on to that. Well, guess what? We do catch on to it, and sometimes it's insulting. Sometimes it doesn't make any sense. Sometimes it is rushed. Sometimes it's necessary. Now, with that storyline, I feel like I didn't follow it all the way through because, remember, I don't watch their programming. The reason why I sat down and watched SummerSlam is I heard so much about the Paul Ricochet match, and everybody was talking about it, and everybody was saying how over that is it. I keep forgetting it's Logan Paul or Jake Paul. Logan Paul. Yeah, Jake boxed.
Jake Paul's the boxer.
He boxed, right. So, and then Logan Paul goes in his gear, jumps on a plane, and goes right to his brother's fight the same night, which is amazing.
Being rich will give you certain luxuries that,
that's support for his brother. And I love that. But watching him, I must say, watching him in the ring, I felt like I was watching a 10-year vet. And you can call me a mark if you want. I don't know anything about this guy. All I know is that he's very over on social media because I looked him up. And I said, what is his content on YouTube? I've taken 4,128 Polaroids over the last 30 days, 9.4 million views. I was like, wait a minute. Why is he getting so many views? I wanted to see what the hype was about. I didn't watch any of the videos. I was just reading what he does, right? But good on him, not hating. But to watch the way he just was in the ring, his athleticism was great, but I was really impressed on the way he interacted with the fans. He didn't rush anything. He didn't look nervous at all. He knew they were coming up, so I have to wait. And then they start to come down, and that's when he went back to Ricochet, and they started to. He's got the timing perfectly. He was born to do something like this. He is going to be huge. Absolutely huge. And Ricochet's awesome. I mean, he's such a good worker. The two of them together, money. It was such a good match. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it from top to bottom. Not gonna lie, it's really good.
No, that's great. No, they're a great pairing. And curious to see where they have long-term plans with Logan Paul. Signed him to that deal, so they got obviously some investment in using him. But with the bloodline and these soap opera like story turns and keeping everybody on the edge of their seat, I just think it's a little overkill. So it takes me out of it as somebody who was kind of into it at one point. But again, I'm just equating it back to how we've talked about and watched stories that you've been a part of in your career. And I think about, when you were paired with Dreamer, I didn't love it as a fan, right? And then they put you with Raven. And it's like, cool, it was different, but it was short term. But then they put you with PJ, and that was perfect, right? That was like the absolute perfect pairing for you. But to get there, it was like, they were reluctant partners, and they were enemies, and they hated each other, and then they're the tag champs, and then you're involved, and you were like this cognitive. It just kind of takes you in and out when you watch it back, but it's almost, did it go on too long, or do you feel it was just right?
With me, I don't think it went on too long. I would have did the story a different way, including me. Like I've said it in the past, I didn't like them putting me into the love triangle. Oh, she's with Tommy, but now she's going to go with Raven. Because it was just the same Beulah storyline, only with me. And they're fighting over me. And it just, I would have tried to do it a different way. Like something that wasn't done before. I don't know what, because I never really put thought into it. But I would have liked to have mixed it up differently. But you have to, just when Shane left, just putting me with PJ right off the bat, I don't think that would have made sense. Okay. Putting me with Tommy, making me a baby face. I feel like even though you look back and you say, well, that they were always rivals, sometimes that stuff happens. And I guess, at that point in time, Paul didn't see anybody else to put me with. And even though you didn't like it, the pairing worked. We would get.
Oh, no, it definitely worked. No, it absolutely worked. Yeah. I just, as a fan, and somebody who watched for all those years.
Right, I understand.
It didn't gel for me. But no, you guys absolutely worked. And you see the chemistry when we watch back even the house show stuff. You see how great you guys were in terms of the chemistry. I just, as a fan, didn't love the pairing.
Right.
But I agree with you, too. If you went from Shane to PJ, wouldn't have gelled as perfectly as you guys did when you got there eventually. But I just feel like the bridge there was too far.
I don't know. I think it was okay. Again, the Raven thing was kind of weird. That whole, and I knew I wasn't going to be with Raven for a long time. I think I've done some of my best mic work against Tommy when I, did the turn and went with Raven. The Pete Rose one was one of my favorite promos I ever cut. In Cincinnati, calling him a loser because he gambled his career away and getting booed. And it was fun. It was a lot of fun. With the Usos, I didn't watch that storyline. So I would have to go back and see the progression. And I mean, I've heard about it. Everybody talked about it, how funny it was and how entertaining it is. But I didn't see any of it, not one inkling of it. So
they'll give you the recap if you watch the rest of the show.
I'm sure they will. And I can comment on it more. I will say some things are necessary to tell a story. You don't want to rush things, but then again, you don't want to throw things in that make no sense that insults the fans as well. So as far as the Usos turning, I don't know. Now, if it's brother against brother, I kind of dig that. I like that. It makes it different because down the line, they're going to join forces again eventually.
Right. Yes.
But they have to do something to keep them fresh. We've seen the Usos as a tag team for years and years and years. Kind of dull, kind of stale. I don't know. They're good workers, but I think one of them going against the other one is money. So.
Right. I mean, leads us to believe, where does it end? Does The Rock end up coming in to settle the bloodline? Is Jay's ultimate tag team partner the Rock against everybody else? So it's interesting to see.
I would send Trinity in and make her turn on her husband and go with her brother-in-law. That's what I would.
That's if the guy who was raided by the federal agents was still in charge, would probably want to do.
Yeah.